Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm recording this on September 23rd. As you know, I've been concerned about a few dates, all right, recently. For the ones that don't know, I was concerned about August 24th as a date of worry, all right? And the reason why was that if you take October 7th from last year and go 322 days, it ends up being August 24th. On August 24th, there were airstrikes from Israel in the Lebanon region fighting against Hezbollah, all right? And I said that when that news came out, because I didn't know at the time, I knew that the date was worrisome because of the 322 days from October 7th, but I didn't know what was going to happen. And then when the airstrike started, I said that this was going to start a sequence of events, all right? Now, another date that I'm concerned about is September 24th of this year. And I said months ago that I was seeing blue, New York. It felt like it was UN related, and that it was going to be, it almost felt like it was radiological or something big, something bad. All right. Now, there's a UN General Assembly that's taking place, and on the 24th, there's going to be what they call a high-level discussion of things, flashpoints or worrisome areas in the world. That's supposed to take place tomorrow. All right. Now, a lot has been happening with Israel and Hezbollah. Okay, there's this new war that's starting to happen in the northern front. It's been happening actually since October 7th, but it's really ramped up because operations in Gaza are starting to abate, and now Israel is starting to do a orchestrated effort to escalate the northern front, okay, with the pager bombings and the targeted assassinations and all this, all right? So that's obviously going to be a high level of discussion on September 24th at the UN. Now, there have been some, and I haven't been paying attention to it, but I believe on the 22nd, there was some passage of some UN proposals. I don't know what exactly is in them. I'm not going to pretend that I know. I know something passed around, I think it was September 22nd or the 21st. But there's things that are happening with the UN, and there's things that are happening with the Northern Front, with the war between Israel and Hezbollah, that they're together, all right? And there was a speech by, I believe it's the head of Hezbollah. I'm not sure if it was one of the leaders in Iran, but I think it was the head of Hezbollah that stated that Israel is going to repent, or there will be a judgment on them soon because of what happened with the pagers and the walkie-talkies. That's an important phrase, which I don't think that most people understand, because Judgment Day, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, all right, is October 11th and 12th, right? So it's sundown on October 11th until sundown on October 12th in the United States. So that means that there might be something that's happening between October 2nd, which is the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, to October 12th, with this warning that took place with this speech from one of the leaders and with Hezbollah, right? I think he's a Lebanese leader, not an Iranian leader. But either way, the point here is that there was, in his speech, he warned about, an atonement and kind of a judgment. Well, that's Yom Kippur, all right? So we'll see what happens, but I'm concerned about tomorrow's date, I don't know if some big world event is going to happen internationally. Maybe there's bombings, maybe there's world peace, who knows? But I just feel that something is happening on that date that sets in motion a series of events that will it seems to me lead to more conflict in the world, not just in the Middle East region. I can't prove it, but I feel that September 24th, on what's happening in New York, is tied to what's happening on the Northern Front, that leads to a domino effect that escalates violence in Europe, in the Middle East, and in Asia. All right. I'm concerned about the September 24th date. All right. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and it's the opposite. Maybe there's some sort of peace agreement that can be reached. I doubt it, but tomorrow, September 24th, I'm concerned about something's going on in the UN that sets in motion a series of things that I feel that are problematic. Okay, whatever that means. All right. There's been a lot of activity in the news over the weekend and even last night between Israel and Lebanon, especially tied to Hezbollah. So let's start playing a few videos about that, and I will kind of give you my take on it and see what's aligning with that feeling that I have about September 24th, which is tomorrow. All right. I'm not just picking a date, that's just close to expiring, right? I mentioned this months ago, all right, that I was concerned about this date. And I also mentioned months ago, that, a few months ago, about the 322 date from October 7th and how the 332 date leads to September 24th, a month later. All right, the 332 date is October 7th, countdown 322 days. You get to August 24th. Then from there, I was concerned about something with the UN in September 24th that leads to further conflict. And then with that speech from Hezbollah, it's kind of, I'm sensing that something's going to happen between Yom Kippur, probably around Yom Kippur time. You got to remember, Yom Kippur, 50 years ago, the Yom Kippur War was 50 year, I believe it was the 50-year anniversary was it? Hold on, let me double check that. But it was the anniversary was last year. I thought it was the 50-year anniversary was last year. Yeah, the 50th anniversary was last year. Okay, but they attacked on Simchas Torah. All right, which is the tail end of Sukkot. So basically, what this is that you have Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah. All right. Last year was the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. All right. They attacked on October 7th on Simchas Torah. All right. Not on Yom Kippur. And last year on Rosh Hashanah, we couldn't blow the shofar, so we couldn't silence the great prosecutor. All right. So there was curse on the world, especially on the Jewish people during this year, which pretty much has happened. All right. But Rosh Hashanah is starting again on October 2nd, and the shofar is going to be blown. That means that there's going to be a blessing that's coming onto the Jewish people and the world at large. All right. So there is an inflection point that's taking place, and power away from Esau, and a blessing and power is going to Jacob. All right. I wouldn't be surprised that the Muslim community, the sole root of Esau, that's using terrorism. All right. So we're talking about Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, will try to redo the Yom Kippur War. even though it would be the 51st anniversary. Last year was the 50th anniversary, but they didn't do it on Yom Kippur. They did it on Simchas Torah. So we'll see what happens, but I feel that tomorrow's date has some sort of significance to a series of events that's tied to October 2nd all the way through October 12th. All right. And there was a warning within the speech from Hezbollah that the Jewish people are going to have some sort of, an atonement. All right. Well, that seems like it's signifying possibly a hit for at Yom Kippur. We'll see. Well, I mean, maybe, but I just feel that September 24th and what's happening in New York is leading to events that are going to have more conflict in the world. And it's somehow tied to Middle East, Europe, and Asia. Okay, so let me plug some products here. But before we start, please help support my work. I have lots of videos for free. I just did a video last night about how to improve your cardiovascular health by reducing plaque and eliminating or reducing the chances of developing new plaque. All right. So please listen to that video. It explains how to revert and try to reduce that plaque that you've already built up in your vascular system, in your arteries, how to lower the risk of increasing new plaque, all right, and how to detoxify your body, because toxins can cause inflammation that leads to vascular disease, okay, and how to detoxify your body with stuff like NAC and zeolite. With that said, all right, I do a lot of videos for free, so please help support my work by donating. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. The links are in the description of this video. You can go to my website and donate. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. And at the very bottom of the homepage, you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon channel. And by being a paid member, you're helping support the free work that I do to help to inform the public about economics, international affairs, a little bit about, a little bit of a Kabbalistic or metaphysical take on what's going on in the world, and how to improve your health and some of the crises that may develop when it comes to your health. So I have thousands of videos for free. If you could help support my work, I'd greatly appreciate it. Be a paid member to Patreon, and at a higher tier level on Patreon, you do have access to some of my lecture series on pulmonology and immunology in it. And you can donate through my website, through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee. And that way, my work out there, majority of the work that I do for these videos to inform the public are for free. And that way, we can build a community and people can get informed and navigate through tumultuous times, economically, with your health, and geopolitically. All right. I think I have a very unique perspective that is very accurate. So please help support my work. In addition, make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please subscribe to all those channels and follow me on X and on GETTR, so you get notifications of the things that I'm doing. All right. And that way you can follow and participate and share the links. And please ask your social media, that the people that you follow and the people that follow you, to follow me. All right. Because I need a larger audience to be able to reach more people so I can help improve their health and inform them about things that are starting to arise that may cause perturbation with their finances. Okay. So that's really important. So before we begin with the video from the BBC, we'll start with the BBC, and then we'll take a look at maybe some other videos and then drop in live with Al Jazeera. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. And get the structural nanosilver liquids. I have it in 3 different varieties. I have max 35 and max 14, which is 35 ppms and 14 ppms. And I also have this product here that is a 35 ppm. All right, so please go to the store, get the structural nanosilver liquid. Take a teaspoon a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle, swallow. All right. That way you're neutralizing pathogens and you're maintaining the mucosal barrier. So you are reducing the chances of infection from a pathogen. Now, you do that every day. If you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. I also have an applicator set, so you can easily just put the liquid in these little bottles or applicators, and you get a spritzer, a dropper, and a nasal spray. So you can take it with you, keep it in your medicine cabinet, whatever. It's a lot easier to carry in your bag with the applicators than, you know, carrying a big bottle to work or whatever. So go and get the applicator that I have on my store. And it's really important to have good oral hygiene. All right. So you can improve your oral hygiene with taking the structural nanosilver liquid every day. But also, I have a great toothpaste. It has no fluoride in it. It has the structural nanosilver. It'll neutralize pathogens, whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, maintain your gum line, improve your gum line because it's reducing inflammation, and you're going to have just better oral hygiene. By doing that, you're going to improve your cardiovascular system, because a lot of people don't realize that poor oral hygiene will increase the chances of vascular disease and valvular disease. Why? Because some of the tartar may get into your bloodstream and cause a little bit of inflammation and perturbation on the intima of your vascular system, but also bacteria. And bacteria can attach to the valves of your heart and sit there and cause disease. And it's called vegetation of the valve. When people are older, that vegetation and calcification of the valve gets to a point where you might have to have a valve replacement. So, and there's regurgitations that happen with the heart because of the valve disease, and you can get blood clots and strokes and all this stuff. So it's really a problem. So good oral hygiene will reduce that chance. It won't eliminate it, but it reduces the chance, especially when you get older. So good oral hygiene is really important. In addition, when you get bacteria and stuff into your bloodstream, it's going to cause inflammation and additional problems with your vascular system. So it's really, oral hygiene does help cardiovascular health. Good oral hygiene helps with cardiovascular health. Bad oral hygiene can lead to cardiovascular disease. Okay, so it's really important to take a good toothpaste, not the garbage that Procter & Gamble sells and Colgate and all that crap. All right, this has no fluoride in it because fluoride makes you stupid. You don't want to take fluoride. You want to make sure that it's out of your system. Fluoride makes you stupid. All right, so there's no fluoride in this. It has the structural nanosilver. It neutralizes pathogens. It reduces the inflammation, improves the oral health and your oral hygiene. All right, so get a few tubes for your household. This is a very high quality toothpaste. It's going to be the best toothpaste that you actually can get. It's way better than anything Alex Jones sells. All right, so instead of supporting Alex Jones, help support Dr. Paul Cottrell and what I'm trying to do to inform the public. All right, because actually what I have to say matters. So please go to my store and get the toothpaste. All right, it's a very high quality toothpaste. Get 4 tubes for your household or whatever. Stock up. And lastly, structural nanosilver gel. This is a dual product. It's a skincare product, but it also helps to neutralize pathogens. You can put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your nose, around your eyes, ears, right? Stays active for 5 hours. You can lightly coat your nostrils. And what happens is it's creating a light barrier. It's creating a barrier because it's a gel, right? And it's also neutralizing pathogens because it's a structural nanosilver. So, and then you can apply it on a cut, an abrasion, or a burn, and it will heal quicker. All right. Why? Because you're keeping it clean. All right. In addition, you can use it as a daily skincare where you can apply it on your skin. The best way to do it is you apply it on your skin before you go to bed and then exfoliate. And what you'll notice is your skin's clear and your skin's tighter. All right. And it's part of actually a skincare protocol that I have, that you can get one of the anti-aging boxes for the skincare, and one of the items in that anti-aging box for the skincare is the structural nanosilver gel. It's a dual purpose product. It's something that you should have a couple tubes for your household just in case you need it, to heal cuts, to neutralize pathogens, to keep your hands clean, especially if you're going to work and it's during the cold season. We're in the cold season right now in the United States. It's really important that you have something like this in your house and that you're using regularly to reduce the chances of catching or contracting something. All right. So, and like I said, it's a dual purpose product, which is something that I believe in and providing to my customers. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nanosilver gel. All right. This is PNN.
Health Ministry says 182 people have been killed and more than 700 injured in the latest wave of Israeli airstrikes in the south of the country. Israel says it carried out more than 300 strikes on Hezbollah targets aimed at preventing the Iranian-backed militia group from launching a large-scale rocket attack on northern Israel. In response, Hezbollah says it has fired dozens of rockets back across the border. It comes amid speculation Israeli troops could also mount a ground offensive of southern Lebanon to create a buffer zone so that civilians who've been evacuated from the north of Israel can return to their homes. From Jerusalem, here's our correspondent, Yolande Nell.
With the new day came a new wave of intense Israeli bombing across southern Lebanon. Israel's military saying it was deepening its attacks against Hezbollah. It's begun warning Lebanese citizens to evacuate areas where it says the armed group is hiding weapons. And the IDF put out this video said to show Hezbollah operatives trying to launch cruise missiles from a civilian house and the Israeli strike that followed.
We ask residents of Lebanese villages to pay attention to the message and warning published by the IDF and heed them. This is an advance warning for your own safety and the safety of your family.
Today, Hezbollah has been hitting back. Israel says it's acting to return tens of thousands of its citizens displaced by nearly a year of fighting to their homes along the Lebanon border. But right now, more are finding themselves under fire as this conflict escalates. And it's not just from Lebanon. An Iran-backed Iraqi militia says it's also been launching drones at Israel. There have long been warnings that the fighting in Gaza could trigger a regional war. However, in the past week, the danger of that has risen dramatically. World leaders are again urging restraint.
We're going to really understand that people why the war from breaking out. We're still pushing hard.
But both Israel and Hezbollah now say they've entered a new phase in their battles. And as they harden their rhetoric, they're also stepping up their attacks. Yolande Nell, BBC News, Jerusalem.
And earlier I spoke to Yolande as well as Hugo Bitchute, who's in Beirut, for the latest on the strikes.
The IDF chief spokesperson giving his second live briefing in the course of the day. From what we understand, that warning that was earlier given to residents of southern Lebanon that if they lived close to Hezbollah posts, then they should consider leaving their homes. As message that was coming from the Israeli military. That has been extended to others. We know that already Israel has been striking not just in the south in Lebanon, but also in the east, in the Bekaa Valley. It's warning people there now as well. And it's been striking in the very north, close to the Syrian border. We had earlier the Israeli military saying that more than 300 Hezbollah targets had been struck in recent hours. They were saying that this wide-scale attack was being carried out in response to a plan for a large rocket attack by Hezbollah, firing rockets into Israel. There have been a number of messages through the day, particularly from the Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, addressing the Israeli public, because, of course, the Israeli stated goal is to be able to return tens of thousands of Israeli residents living close to the border with Lebanon to their homes after months of fighting now that have gone on. And really what we've seen in the past couple of days is actually Hezbollah has been firing more deeply into Israel, and that has put more people under fire. People have been told in the north of the country now to stay close to bomb shelters. We have had restrictions put in place on public gatherings. Schools have been closed. Hospitals have been moving their patients into underground shelters. And Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, said these are days where the Israeli public will have to show composure.
We've seen that a number of locations have been hit, not only in the south of the country, but as Yolande was saying, also in the Bekaa Valley in the east, which is another Hezbollah stronghold in Lebanon. And for the first time, the north of the country was also hit. And now new warnings from the Israeli military for people to evacuate areas where Hezbollah is active, to leave places where Hezbollah has its positions, has been storing weapons. So again, this marks a significant major escalation in this conflict between Hezbollah and Israel that up until now has been relatively contained to border areas along between Lebanon and Israel. This is the most intense, widespread wave of Israeli airstrikes targeting positions across the country. And obviously the fear here, as you were discussing, is that this could be the beginning of a much wider Israeli offensive against Hezbollah. They could include a ground invasion in southern Lebanon to create again this so-called buffer zone to push Hezbollah fighters away from the borders and to allow the return of tens of thousands of Israeli residents who've been displaced because of this conflict. At least that's the stated objective by the Israeli authorities with this campaign. And we're seeing now images of people trying to leave parts of southern Lebanon, especially the city of Tyre, which is one of the largest cities in Lebanon. Traffic jams with people trying to escape. So it is a dramatic day here and a major escalation in this conflict between Hezbollah and Israel.
I want to see. Okay, this is DW.
Lebanon's health ministry says at least 50 people have been killed and more than 300 wounded in fresh Israeli attacks. Israel's military earlier began carrying out what is described as extensive strikes against Hezbollah, telling residents to evacuate areas close to buildings that are used by the militant group. The new wave of airstrikes on Lebanon follows a weekend in which both sides exchanged hundreds of rockets. Some struck close to the Israeli port city of Haifa. Israel's defense minister says the operations will continue until residents can return to evacuated areas near the northern border with Lebanon. Hezbollah has said it will fight on until a ceasefire is secured in Gaza. Now, for the latest from both sides, I'm now joined by our correspondent Tanya Kramer in Haifa, which is just 40 kilometers from the Lebanese border, and Mohamed Trete in Beirut. Mohamed, let's start with you. Fresh strikes within Lebanon. What are you hearing?
This front is heating up really fast. A fresh wave of Israeli airstrikes hit positions in southern Lebanon and the Bekaa region a while ago. The Ministry of Public Health just announced that at least 50 were killed and more than 300 wounded in the Israeli airstrikes today. This is only an initial count. Image coming from the south, UGC videos show houses in populated districts turned into ruins. Many Lebanese have been receiving automated calls reportedly from Israel asking them to leave their positions. The Minister of Information is said to be one of those who received similar calls. At least 80,000 calls have been spotted, said the head of Lebanon's telecom operator. This confrontation is clearly in a new stage, in a new phase of heavy cross-border shelling, and it appears that this will gradually increase in the coming few days as the front appears to be in a deadlock. Israel wants to return tens of thousands of Israeli evacuees back to the north. Hezbollah says that they won't be back unless a ceasefire is agreed upon in Gaza, and here we are. There's fears of increasing tension that would lead to an all-out war here in Lebanon.
Tanya in Haifa, what more can you tell us about Israel's plans?
Well, as you just heard, I mean, the military here has or is being intensifying its strikes in southern Lebanon, and they had called on residents in southern Lebanon, at least as they put it here, those close in proximity to Hezbollah military targets to leave. And we can hear here in Haifa the constant coming and going of fighter jets in the air. So since this morning, and this number, of course, is changing by the minute and by the hour, the army has said they have targeted about 300 targets or sites in southern Lebanon. And this is, of course, ongoing. There have also been air raid sirens going off towards the Sea of Galilee and places towards the eastern Galilee, also the lower Galilee, and we understand that about 25 rockets in one of the barrages were fired. The air defense system has intercepted some of them, and others were falling in open areas, but we also hear there's some likely injured, usually when shrapnel is falling down or when people are running to the shelters.
Tanya, this escalation has authorities in northern Israel, where you are right now, on high alert, of course, and most places there must look like ghost towns. What does it look like in Haifa, for example?
Well, Haifa is here the biggest city in northern Israel. It's also a port city, but of course it has not been evacuated like other places, like near the border, up to 5 kilometers from southern Lebanon. Those people have been actually residing in hotels or in other places, in apartments for over a year now. This is what has been stressed by the government. This situation cannot continue now. Of course, people I've been talking to this morning here in Haifa, they're saying they're worried about it. And you can see the city is much, much calmer. You know, people going to get some shopping done, and they're now waiting. What is that?
I think what's happening here is that as the operations in Gaza are ramping down, now Israel obviously is still in Gaza, but the really major operations, I think, are starting to abate. They are moving towards a northern front, all right? And they know that the last time they were in Lebanon, Israel had the Israel-Lebanese war. That was kind of like Israel's Vietnam, all right? And they're learning from it. Now, there are new technologies that came out. The Iron Dome is a lot more sophisticated and it has more capability. But Hezbollah has more rockets, and they can overpower the Iron Dome. Drone warfare is starting on both sides, and now there's new tactics, of trying to kill leadership of Hezbollah through these pagers and walkie-talkies, because they were concerned that Unit 8200 were tracking them through their cell phones, through GPS or whatever. So they decided, okay, go low tech with beepers and walkie-talkies. but there was a major sophisticated operation by the Israelis to infiltrate that supply chain to be able to rig those walkie-talkies and pagers with explosives. So they used it and on the walkie-talkies and the pagers, and they were able to wound or kill mid-level and some upper level leaders within Hezbollah. Now, if you're not Hezbollah, you wouldn't have had these walkie-talkies or pagers. So I don't really feel bad. There was collateral damage, but all war has collateral damage. There's no such thing as no war has collateral damage. All right, all war has collateral damage. So Israel has decided to take out their command and control as best as they can as they move forward with operations. And Hezbollah now has a fear component. They're looking over their shoulder because of what the Israelis did with the pagers and the walkie-talkies. They don't know if something else is going to be coming. Probably not, but let's just say they're fearful. They don't know what to do. They don't know if their communications are secure. So they've created a state of unknown within Hezbollah. And Israel is now escalating force. It's going to be air capability, missile capability, and potentially even ground war. Now, how drone warfare plays into it, I think it'll play a lot into this. All right. But there seems to be, to me, this is moving forward to major operations where Israel has taken out Hezbollah. And that means going into Lebanon and potentially even areas of Syria. So we'll see if they also go into Iraq. Who knows? But this whole area, there's that corner of Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon is going to be a flashpoint. All right. So with that said, it seems to me that this is orchestrated. This is not just a one-off. This is a plan to take out the command and control and then move towards major operations. The United States does something very similar. What they do is they come in and they knock out communications, right? So, and by knocking out communications and surface-to-air missile capability, when the U.S. knocks out an enemy's capability, then they can come in with bombers and fighters and do further damage. So it's about degrading their capability, either radar, missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and also command and control. And I think that Israel is being methodical on moving the ball forward to knocking out Hezbollah. That's my take on this. And that this is not going to be de-escalated by some sort of a peace agreement. Israel is going to target. Israel is hunting down. Israel is in hunt mode, not in defend mode. Israel is no longer defending. Israel is hunting. They're hunting down Hezbollah now.
Because with a message to Lebanon that the military is intensifying their strikes, the defense minister here has said to the Israeli public, these will be challenging days ahead, and that they should be very careful listening to the home front command guidelines. This is usually what's given out to people, where they should be, if they should be next to bomb shelters. And this comes also, there are reports here in the Israeli media that they're expecting the range of the rockets, possibly by Hezbollah, maybe to be expanded, as are the strikes possibly in southern Lebanon might expand.
Mohammed, in Beirut, this is not the first time violence has broken out on this level between Israel and Hezbollah. If we're talking about the average Lebanese people, what's the mood?
Well, we're seeing more people evacuating the southern towns, including major cities like Tyre, which was not hit heavily before like it was today. As the confrontation is violently escalating. People are driving to Beirut and northwards. There's more than 100,000 people had already left their homes in southern Lebanon and are taking refuge in Beirut and across the country in the mountains. This is really disrupting lives in Lebanon. Again, on so many aspects. School classes are interrupted. We heard about families picking up their children from schools here in Beirut. The Minister of Education just said a while ago also that schools will be shut down today and tomorrow in the south and in the Beqa regions. Hospitals are working at utmost capabilities. You know, Lebanon have gone through a very volatile week last week after Hezbollah device explosions and the Israeli airstrike on the southern suburbs of Beirut late last week. Now fears are really growing that this escalation continue to increase in intensity and targeted territory and geography, and namely in Beirut and the southern suburbs of Beirut.
Many thanks there to our correspondents Talia Kramer in Haifa and Mola Shreite in Beirut.
And how are the numbers looking? We're landing at a strong 70 SPF.
Thanks to
JetBlue's low fares, Kayla's on vacation already.
I absolutely hate that commercial.
Now let's cross next to Makram Rabach. He's in Beirut as well. He lectures in history at the American University there. Makram, considering recent developments and rhetoric from both sides, how severe do you expect Israel's announced strikes to be?
Well, it is clear that the Israelis are trying to push the envelope by forcing Hezbollah to announce its defeat in a way. It has systematically started to bomb on a larger scale many of the villages which extend beyond the so-called border villages with Palestine. And this is why, technically, I think that the so-called exodus of the inhabitants of South Lebanon will remind everyone what is at stake. And I think that Hezbollah, given what had happened with it in the last 2 days, particularly the killing of one of its highest senior military commanders, or what happened with the pager attack, I think that now is the right time for Hezbollah to ask for help. However, and this is my personal belief, that Hezbollah does not understand the gravity of the situation. They still believe that the international community will put an end to the Israeli attack, while at the same time, simply they're hoping to, as we say, run out the clock. All of these scenarios are basically very tragic for anyone involved in the conflict.
Now, the other side of the border, Israel has told its citizens to brace for intensifying strikes from Hezbollah after the pager attacks, which targeted its top commanders. What is Hezbollah still capable of?
Not much.
Well, Hezbollah is definitely capable of driving the inhabitants of the northern cities of Israel down to the shelters. However, ironically here, you see that these people have shelters and have the ability to mobilize the healthcare system, whereas you look at Lebanon and you look at Hezbollah that claims that is capable of protecting Lebanon, and particularly the Shiites in the south, we see that civilians are fleeing their homes and they don't have homes to go to. Most of these people will either sleep on the streets or basically look for shelter with their relatives. Ultimately, I think that the people of the north of Syria
I remember doing one of the videos a few weeks ago, and they were interviewing an Israeli doctor, and it was in the northern area of Israel, maybe Ramallah. I'm not really sure, but what they basically did was they took the parking lot, the parking structure underneath the hospital, and converted it into a hospital. So they're ready. They're ready for rocket fire. You know, they have been preparing. This is the point I'm making. It's just that there's a methodical move by the Israelis, knock out command and control, perturb Hezbollah, get them off their footing, and prepare the citizens by moving out of the area, and also the the areas that might get hit by bombs, because they're going to overload the Iron Dome, and missiles are going to get through. Maybe even drones get through, and underneath the radar system. But the Israelis have hardened their hospitals in such a way where they don't need the hospital. It's all underground. All right. Through the car park areas, these car park that's underneath the hospital. And they were interviewing the head doctors, and he was walking through the parking structure, and you could see these bays, these ER bays. So, I mean, Israel's ready. I mean, they're ready to hunt Hezbollah.
For a kind of an escalation of violence. However, in the case of Lebanon, the total collapse of the country, be it because of the war or because of the economic situation, makes the potential idea of an elongated or prolonged war a very tragic and very devastating on the people's psychological mindset as well as their physical well-being.
Now, these pager attacks have injured thousands, including civilians. Has that boosted support for Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Well, I wouldn't call it support. Many of the people who showed empathy or unity with some of these civilians that were injured did so because at the end of the day, these are fellow Lebanese. This doesn't really cross into supporting Hezbollah's Iranian war. At the end of the day, I personally felt empathy and did support and was willing to show empathy to people who were hurt, but in no way I'm willing to adopt the rhetoric of Hassan Nasrallah and Hezbollah, who sees that the only way forward is more destruction and more violence. And certainly the people of Lebanon don't want to throw Israel into the sea. We just want peace. We want the war in Gaza to end. Yet at the same time, we don't see that the continuing of the fighting in Lebanon, as Nasrallah and Hezbollah are promoting, is actually beneficial for the Palestinians, nor for the people of Lebanon.
Now, talking about the people of Lebanon, what role is the Lebanese government playing in all this? Couldn't they de-escalate?
Well, the Lebanese government, contrary to the government we had in 2006, has no legitimacy whatsoever. First of all, it's a caretaker government, not to mention that we don't have a president. This vacancy in the presidency is basically one of the deadly sins of Hezbollah and its allies. Not to mention that at the end of the day, the Miqati government, Prime Minister Najib Miqati, is simply a kind of a puppet. And much of the rhetoric he's saying, he acts as if he's a sovereign prime minister. Yet at the end of the day, the decision for war and peace comes from Iran and doesn't even come from Hezbollah. So all of this has discredited Miqati and in a way has isolated Lebanon's political elite and made them a kind of a pariah. This is why now we have many regional as well as foreign actors trying to rush to Beirut to try to impose a kind of a ceasefire or potential reinstating of the UN Security Council Resolution 1701. Yet at the same time, we don't have a credible government to actually see this idea through.
Now, the anniversary of the October 7th terror attacks by Hamas is coming close. What effect does that have on the escalation between Israel and Hezbollah? Does it have any?
Well, I think this is an earnest reminder that despite the war might be coming to the end, or despite that Gaza has become somewhat thing of the past, we have entered a new phase of conflict, which is more devastating. Even the Israeli media is referring to what's happening in Lebanon as the third war, which means that we are entering a new phase in the conflict. The only difference is that previously in 2006, the majority of the Lebanese, including myself, bet on the idea that Nasrallah and Hezbollah will act Lebanese, and they have failed miserably in this. At the moment, there's no real betting on Nasrallah's Lebanese interests, and this is why ultimately I think what the Israelis are trying to do, other than bring back the inhabitants of the south back to their villages, they're trying to drag Iran into war, which doesn't bode well for the entire region and for global security and stability.
Why do you say that? Why would it be?
I totally disagree. I mean, is Israel going and hunting down Hezbollah and the apparatus that's funding Hezbollah and Hamas from Iran? Of course they are. Of course Israel's doing that. All right, and they should. Because if you keep on kicking the can down the road, it only gets worse. It gets more violent, it gets more expensive. more people die, more collateral damage. Israel needs to take out Hamas, Hezbollah, and the leadership in Iran, the theocratic leadership in Iran. Because what's interesting about Iran is that there's a secular part of Iran that really wants self-government, and they don't want the Ayatollah. So what? And we can't have Iran go nuclear. That for sure, that we can't have that happen. You know, so if Iran goes nuclear, right, and has nuclear capability, it's a major failure of foreign policy by the United States government. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. So you can't let they kick the can down the road. Israel tried to fix this problem with the capability that they had at the time I think it was 2006. All right, didn't work. It was like their Vietnam. All right, things have changed. All right, we fast forward to 2024. Things are way different now, and so this may be that moment in time to just knock it out. You can't keep on just going, okay, we're just going to have peace, because what's going to happen is Iran goes nuclear. It changes the whole dynamic. Most likely there would be nuclear conflict. And, you know, you can see that the terrorists, Hezbollah, Hamas, and even Iran are like going, oh, wait, maybe we kicked a hornet's nest on October 7th. They didn't kick a hornet's nest. They woke up a giant. You know, what's going to happen is that these people are going to be targeted, they're going to be hunted down, and they're going to be killed. And the world will be in a better place in the long run. Will there be collateral damage? Yes, there will be. But that is going to be way better than kicking the can down the road and having a nuclear Iran, because you're not going to have this whole mutual assured destruction idea with a theocracy, and this whole problem with Sunni and Shia and all this crap, and then the secularism versus the theocracy within Iran. No, you got to knock it out now before it gets way too dangerous. Israel has to hunt them down and kill them.
Iran into a war.
Because ultimately, this idea that Israel is fighting Hezbollah is absurd. Hezbollah is one proxy in a series of proxies. You see that the Houthis have tried to join in, the Iraqis are trying to join in, not to mention that Syria is also actively, indirectly, by trying to insert to Israel.
Right. And this is the reason why I said that as this war starts to balloon out, as this war escalates, what's going to happen is that Israel's borders are going to go back to biblical time, because all of these factions, all these terrorist factions, are attacking, and there's going to be a great alignment between Israel, the Western powers, and Saudi Arabia. All right, and maybe even Jordan. But what's going to happen is there's going to be a larger fight that ensues. And eventually they'll reach homeostasis, and there will be peace and actually prosperity. The Middle East, once there's peace, is going to be a very prosperous, very technological, and very modern world, modern area. But this has to be cleaned up first. You know, the future isn't. When you fast forward 100 years from now, when the terrorism and the battle between Shia and Sunni is settled, and there is peace in the region, and you don't have this Iranian theocracy, right? You don't have these terrorist groups, and there is an alignment between Ishmael and Jacob, which is basically Israel and Saudi Arabia. This region is going to be very technological, very peaceful, and there's going to be a lot of investment going into that area, and it's going to turn a desert into a flourishing metropolis. All right. So the future isn't so much China. The future is really the Middle East, but they have to go through this tumultuous period of time. It's going to be it's a desert right now. It seems like there's, no what, but if you start desalinating and you're doing canals and all this stuff, you can turn that whole area into a very lush environment. China right now, in the short term, seems to be a major player in the economy, and obviously they're trying to fight the hegemonic power of the United States Navy. All right. So in the short term, the major power to really focus on for the United States is China. But the future of the world in terms of economics is not China. It's going to be the Middle East. But if this stuff has to happen first, knocking out the terrorists and getting, investment, having peace agreements, having rule of law, and it's going to be a very prosperous environment for everybody, for Lebanon, for Syria, for Saudi Arabia, for even the secular Iranians, for Egypt. You got to kill the terrorists first. Because think about it. What do the terrorists want? The terrorists want a very extreme interpretation of Islam, and they want to control their citizens and keep them in the Stone Age.
Know that there's a challenge to be addressed, whereas the direct challenge is Hezbollah. At the end of the day, the problem of the region rests in Tehran, not in the proxies which occupy many of these nations, including my home country. So I believe ultimately Netanyahu will try to do this on the pulpit of the United Nations General Assembly. Remind everyone that the Obama doctrine and the whole so-called democratic the democratic administration's insistence that Iran can be a source of stability has failed miserably, and this is why one has to go back.
This is why I keep on saying that months ago, you just can roll to those videos. Months ago, I've been saying I'm concerned about September 24th, and it's something dealing with the UN in New York, blue. It feels radiological. And that there is, it's tied to, world events, Middle East and so, but I didn't know exactly what it means, but things are going to be said at the UN. Things are going to be discussed at the high level meeting on the 24th that is going to move the ball. It's going to set in motion things that are what I'm talking about with the Great Hunt against Islamic terrorism. The Western powers helping Israel to hunt down these terrorists. Because what's going to happen is that there's going to be lasting peace in the region for prosperity for all people, including the Palestinians. They can't have this never-ending terror. You just hunt them down and kill them.
Or a way of imposing sanctions. This would work.
I don't know about that one. The American University of Beirut, thank you very much.
The American University of Beirut may not be around after this war. All right. It looks like France 24 is maybe a little bit negative towards Israel. So I want to get both perspectives, things that are more aligned with Israel. That's actually a good pedal. Guitar pedal. All right.
Let's begin 3,000 kilometers southeast of here in Paris to Beirut, where the Israeli military has struck the Lebanese capital for the first time in months, killing 8 people, injuring at least 30 more. A targeted strike, according to IDF officials.
in the southern suburbs of Beirut, joining Russia, stronghold of Hezbollah. News stations in Lebanon the last few hours broadcasting footage of at least 2 buildings completely flattened. Sources close to the militant group reporting an elite operations commander, Ibrahim Akil, the target of the attack, was killed. But earlier today, Hezbollah had pounded northern Israel with more than 140 rocket attacks, saying it targeted several Israeli military sites. Another moment that brings the risk of wider conflict into focus. Let's bring in our correspondent in Beirut, James Andre. James, great to have you on the program. And a week that's seen this new method of
before we go to James, all right, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lozenges and the drops. So I have Manuka honey lozenges. It's in a 21 count. This is really important. In the United States, we're in the cold season now. You're going to need a couple bags of this, because once you start getting an irritation, you need to neutralize those pathogens, and you need to maintain the mucosal barrier so you mitigate getting an infection. Really important to catch it early. If you don't catch it early, then what's going to happen is you're going to get sick. We're in the cold season. Get a couple bags of the Manuka honey lozenges, or you can get a couple bags of the drops, which are a little smaller, but they're more in the bag. There's 100 drops in each of these bags. Honey and lemon flavor. I have it in blueberry flavor, and also a new flavor, which is cherry. That's on my store. So get a couple bags or a few bags for your household, so you are ready for the cold season. And the moment you start feeling that irritation, take the drops or the lozenges, right? Take the drops or the lozenges. There's 21 in the lozenges because they're a little bit bigger. And neutralize those pathogens. Maintain that mucosal barrier so you're mitigating the chances of getting a further infection, all right? Really important. Catch it early. Catch it early, all right? Get a few bags for your household. Be ready, because this cold season is going to be problematic, all right? That means you got the RSV issue, you got the Mpox issue, you have the influenza issue, you have SARS-CoV-2 issue, all right? And in terms of the SARS-CoV-2 problem, all right, there is a rebound. You get sick, it's somewhat mild. A week later, it comes back, all right? You need to boost up your immune system, and the moment you start feeling an irritation, start taking the lozenges and the drops. Trust me on this. This is not this. I don't think that there's going to be lots of ICU or hospitalizations during this cold season. I don't think that's going to happen. What's going to happen is that it's going to be mild, and it won't go away. It'll linger. There's a rebound. All right? That's a problem for your immune system. All right? So please go to my store, take my advice on how to neutralize pathogens, improve your immune system, and neutralize free radicals.
Talking exploding across Lebanon. Bring us up to date with developments today.
As indeed today, well, there's this strike that has taken place in the southern suburbs of Beirut. According to witnesses, it was a drone strike, 4 missiles that were launched on this very busy neighborhood, which is a Hezbollah stronghold. And there are 4 buildings targeted, one of them at least flattened, and indeed, well, casualties yet at this stage, 59 wounded, but you know, those figures are set to mount when you see the footage of the wreckage inside.
This video was published 6 hours ago. There's a live feed from Al Jazeera that's saying about 274 are killed.
There, yeah, indeed, you can imagine that it is major damage. Of course, this strike arrives amid a maximum tension period here in Lebanon, including on the southern border, where there's been exchange of fire since Israel allegedly, it was allegedly Israel that detonated pages that were on being carried by Hezbollah operatives across the country. That was Tuesday. Then on the Wednesday, it was handheld radio systems that were targeted and exploded as well. The death toll is now officially at 37, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry, with over 3,000 wounded people, and those are terrible wounds. We went to hospitals today with the team. We're talking people who were holding these pages in front of their faces, lost one or two hands and one or two eyes. According to our health ministry, 300 people lost their two eyes in this attack, 500 lost at least one eye, and multiple hundreds of people were amputated.
Okay, while we're talking, James, there's been an update from the news agencies, APTN news agency, AP as well, Israeli military announcing that the strike in the neighborhood of Beirut, quote, killed Ibrahim Akil, a senior Hezbollah military official. No immediate confirmation of his death from Hezbollah. Sources close to the
This is what I mean. They are hunting down the command and control so they can move and do further operations to completely destroy Hezbollah. Israel is not in defense mode anymore. Israel is in hunt mode. They are hunting them down.
Elite commander was killed. Tell me about what's known of this commander.
Well, he is a very high-profile Hezbollah fighter indeed. Ibrahim Akil has been operating since the 80s. He is thought to have replaced in the organization Fuad Shukr, who was killed in a similar strike. That was a few months ago during this very same war. Now, Ibrahim Akil had just come out of the hospital because he'd been wounded by his own pager exploding. That was on Tuesday, and he'd just come out of the hospital and he was targeted by this strike. Now, we have heard that there was a high-profile meeting taking place in the building that was hit with potential other operatives as well as Palestinian leaders. Now, Ibrahim Akil is a very important figure within Hezbollah. He was, according to the United States authorities, behind the terrorist attack against the US Beirut embassy back in April 1983 that killed 63 people. That same year, in October, he was behind an attack that took place against US Marines and killed 241 people. So he is indeed very high profile. He is broadly seen here as the number 2 in the organization at this stage, and or at least here in Lebanon, number 2 or 3, depending on what you're looking at. He was ahead of all the military operations. The US had a $7 million bounty on his head.
Wow, okay, so that news coming in, very interesting background, James. The news being confirmed by the Israeli military as we speak. Also, another thing, James, just tell us about the atmosphere. In a week, what we're seeing, you talked about communications devices exploding, an apparent new front in technological warfare, just talking to people, their thoughts, their fears about their own lives and where this could go.
Well, clearly there's tension in Beirut. I mean, today, for example, was Friday. Usually we went to streets which usually would be busy, would be, packed, jammed with people and cars. Well, that was not the case today. So very clearly there is a mood of weariness here in the city. People telling us that, for example, they've been very shook by the pager attack. Indeed, what we had here just last Tuesday was multiple explosions across the city. Thousands of them at the same exact moment, with people, as I say, being rushed to hospitals. The hospitals overwhelmed, people with two eyes damaged, with hands torn off. So this has had a major psychological impact here in Lebanon. And then what's also been noticed of note is that people have been watching Hassan Nasrallah, who gave a speech yesterday here in the afternoon, as Israeli jets were flying over, making noise to, basically disconcert people. And also demonstrating that they can fly over Lebanon unhindered. But basically, Hassan Nasrallah saying that he would strike back, but he wouldn't say where or when or how. But indeed, this is very much his, I'd say, usual rhetoric when it comes to attacks by Israel. Just this attack is being felt here as a major blow, something different to what had happened till then. Now, since then, of course, there's been 140 missiles that have been fired by Hezbollah into Israel, but still people here feel that the organization is in a sense pretty powerless to respond to this attack by Israel. But still, there is very much this feeling that there is a risk that war may escalate. People are worried. People tell us they're worried. People tell us they don't want to take a lift, for example, with people they believe could be part of Hezbollah because they're afraid their phone might explode. So yes, tension in the city, people being very wary of these explosions, which appeared to just arrive from nowhere, and people telling me, you know, there was a before and after. They said, you know, this is the first attack of its type. When it comes, I'm talking about the pages, the first attack of this type in history. So, you know, people very shocked and very surprised at what happened, and also very wary of what's up and coming.
Jim, stay with us. While we're talking, there's more breaking news. I want to show you these pictures. These are live in south of Beirut. Just while James was talking, you can see them again here. This is a cordoned off area. We can see some of the world's press there. This is where, close to the site of the explosions, as we speak. Another update from Israeli military spokesperson, quote, saying around 10 senior Hezbollah commanders have been killed, along with killed. So this coming in as we speak on air. James, stay with us. I want to go 200 or so kilometers south of where you are. Let's bring in Uri Goldberg, a political commentator, seasoned analyst, who's with us this evening from Tel Aviv. Pleasure to have you on the program, Uri. First of all, just give me your reaction, your thoughts on this news coming in. The Hezbollah commander, Israeli military saying killed, along with 10 senior Hezbollah
I'm going to
officials.
go to live Al Jazeera here.
Right.
Its largest attack in Lebanon today in years. I'm just going to go through some of the figures with you now. So the latest figures are 274 people have died. This is just today. 274 people have died after Israel launched these attacks in Lebanon, in South Lebanon today. And 21 of those people are children. The health minister also saying that 39 women were killed. Those are the women that have been identified. So the number could be larger than that because some have not been identified. In total, over 1,000 injured. The exact figure is 1,024 injured, and that 27 hospitals so far have.
There's going to be a lot of collateral damage, but you got to hunt them down. You have to kill the terrorists. I mean, you know. It's just, you can't, this is going to end. This has to end. For the world, this has to end. And it has to end where the terrorists don't win.
Received those injured. He also said, the health minister, that 2 ambulances were targeted, 2 paramedics were killed, and 15 paramedics injured. So 2 ambulances targeted. So the latest death toll now 274 in Lebanon that have died just today by the latest strikes by Israel. And apparently thousands have left their homes. So many people have been displaced today. He talked about a hotline number that's been launched, 1787, for anyone in Lebanon or outside of Lebanon who might need some more information or has concerns. It's an emergency hotline number, 1787. Okay, let's go to Dorsa Jabari, who is there for us in Beirut. So Dorsa, just talk us through some of the highlights of what we've just heard now from the Lebanese Health Ministry.
Yes, Faraz Abiat said that this is an unprecedented numbers of casualties that they've seen. He said that even in the Hezbollah-Lebanon-Israel war of 2006, they did not have these kinds of numbers in such a short amount of time. The figures that you mentioned, you have to remember that this is just within the last 12 hours or so since Israel launched those attacks in southern Lebanon and now in the eastern part of the country. Over the past less than a week, after a number of Israeli strikes, including the pagers that belong to Hezbollah members, the walkie-talkies, and the attack in Dakhla, we are now at 365 people that have been killed by Israel in less than a week in Lebanon, and over 5,000 people have been injured in these multiple attacks. So this is a tremendous strain on the healthcare system in this country. And the health minister says that
There are medical facilities that are being put on alert. There are first aid centers that are being turned into places where people can be treated. And he said that also friendly countries have been contacted, naming Iraq, Jordan, and other places where they will be getting assistance. But he said that they do have a plan, but these are unprecedented numbers. And he also called on the international community to have a say when members of the country's medical teams are being attacked. 2 ambulances being attacked in the south of Lebanon today by Israel. 2 paramedics have died and at least 16 wounded from those attacks. So extraordinary numbers for what you have to remember is a relatively small country, a population of nearly 5 million in Lebanon. And he also mentioned that there are 1.5 million Syrian refugees in Lebanon as well. So this country is under tremendous strain as it is, being that it's also in an economic crisis. So this kind of an attack by Israel now in such a short amount of time, resulting in so many casualties and wounded, is certainly going to be a challenge for this country.
No, indeed, devastating. He talks a little about how the government was handling the evolving situation, whether hospitals were prepared or not, that it sounded like the neighboring countries had reached out to the Lebanese government. Can you share a bit more about that?
Yes, from what we understand, Iraq, Jordan, and Iran and Turkey have all reached out to Lebanese officials offering assistance in any way they can. And the Lebanese medical officials were also preparing for this worst case scenario. We heard from the health minister a few days ago after the attack in Dahya happened and 52 people were killed and dozens injured. He said that these attacks are really already putting a strain on the country's healthcare system, but they are preparing for the worst. And it appears we are there now. We're at the start of a worst case scenario. And the number of victims and wounded is certainly a devastating, unprecedented number. So the help they will get from neighboring countries will be much welcome. But he did say that the wounded will be mostly treated in Lebanon, and they are doing their best to turn whatever facilities they have into medical facilities that can treat the wounded. We also understand that there are shelters, there are schools and universities that are going to be closed for the next 48 hours at least, are going to be turned into temporary shelters. We've seen a mass exodus of people, not only from the southern part of Lebanon, but also in southern Beirut, in the Dahya neighborhood, where Israel carried out an attack on Friday. Dahya is about 8 kilometers from where I'm standing. There are a number of people leaving who were left. They're also leaving that area today, worried about what could come.
And also, just remind us again where the day started, because it started very early in the morning with Israel sending text messages, voice messages, breaking into the radio and so on with warnings to people in Lebanon. Talk us through the details of that and what sort of impact that's had on the people of Lebanon.
Before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this great product that I offer. It's a dual purpose product. It's the olive leaf extract. You should be taking this every day to improve your immune system and your cardiovascular health. How does it work? It brings down inflammation, so it's improving your immune system. And it's also, not only do you bring down inflammation to help with the immune system, but by bringing down inflammation, you're reducing the chances of further damage in the inner lining of your blood vessels, because it's that damage that leads to plaque buildup. All right. So what you want is to reduce that inflammation, to improve your cardiovascular system and to improve your immune system. In addition, olive leaf extract brings down LDL levels and increases HDL levels. So that means that if you do have some sort of perturbed part of your intima, or the inner lining of your vessel, you have less LDL that can be oxidized to accumulate plaque in the lining of your blood vessel. So olive leaf extract helps with cardiovascular disease by bringing down LDL and increasing your HDL levels. And by reducing the inflammation, it's helping your immune system and your cardiovascular system. So please take this every day if you want to improve your immune system and your cardiovascular system. It's a great product. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, take my advice and improve your immune system and your cardiovascular system. A lot of people don't realize that inflammation will lead to the buildup of plaque. And when you reduce that inflammation, you're reducing the chances of buildup of plaque. And if you do some other supplements on top of that, you can actually reduce the plaque that has built up. So please take my advice, bring down that inflammation and bring that LDL level. It's important, since we've gone through the 2020 crisis, that we boost up our immune system. You hear in the news all the time, cancers are up, all right? I told you why, all right? I have many videos about why the cancers are up, all right? And I've also told you how to mitigate, all right? You need to boost up your immune system, all right? You need to bring down that inflammation and you need to have the immune system heal, all right? So what you want to do is take lignans every day. It's a powder, all right? And what this will do is it'll help to improve your immune system. Take it every day, you mix it with food or with water, all right? And it'll help to improve your immune system, but it's also a dual product because what this is also going to do is help with your endocrine system. Your hormonal health is perturbed because of the lifestyle and the environment we live in, through all the chemicals that are in our food and our water, all right? And it's perturbing our endocrine system, right? So this will help with hormonal health, all right? So please go to the store, my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lignans, take it every day, boost up your immune system, boost up your hormonal health. It's for males and females, really important, all right? Our endocrine system is perturbed. There is an endocrine disruption because of the chemicals that are in our foods, all right? You can mitigate that by eating properly, exercising, and taking the proper supplementation to boost up your immune system and improve your endocrine system. And lignans helps with that, all right? Now, if you are concerned about having your immune system being able to fight turbo cancers, you need to take some of my advice and start following these protocols that I've been talking about on almost every video. So if someone says, I don't understand your protocol or blah, 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 you're not listening, right? Because I say it almost on every single video. And I tell you which supplements to take. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take the lignans every day to improve your immune system so you have a higher probability of being able to fight disease, including cancer. Because a bad immune system leads to cancer. Guess what? People that have HIV and they develop AIDS, they have certain types of cancers that pop up. Why? Because their immune system can't fight. If you don't have CD8s working and natural killer cells working, how does your body target cancer cells to kill them? You need a good immune system. Now, if you don't have a good immune system, you're increasing your chances of having cancers. Follow my advice or don't follow my advice. It's up to you. Please go to my store and get turmeric. This brings down inflammation and it's an antioxidant. And by bringing down inflammation, you're improving your immune system and your cardiovascular system. It's synergistic with ashwagandha. Ashwagandha will help to bring down those cortisol levels. So it's not perturbing your immune system because high cortisol levels actually brings down your immune system. Right? So ashwagandha brings down the cortisol levels. Not only that, it also helps to control glucose levels. That means that your blood vessels are healthier because it doesn't have a lot, it's not dealing with the high sugar blood glucose levels, and it's bringing down that inflammation because high glucose levels cause inflammation, all right? So by bringing down inflammation and bringing down the cortisol levels and bringing down the blood glucose levels, you're bringing up your immune system, and you're improving your cardiovascular system. So it's a dual thing. So please go to my store and get the turmeric and ashwagandha. You can do amazing things with just a few supplements. If you stack them, you can improve your health, immune system and cardiovascular system, which are two major problems that we have in the United States. We're overinflamed because of the foods that we eat. So our immune system is down. We have diabetes and we have heart disease. And I just explained to you how you can control blood glucose levels. So out of these vitamins I just went over, olive leaf extract, lignans, ashwagandha, and turmeric, through proper supplementation, diet, exercise, proper sleep, cleansing your body, detoxifying your body, I've actually given you a path forward for you to mitigate diabetes, heart disease, and immune problems. Please go to my store and get the vitamin C. Everyone needs to take vitamin C. It's good for your skin, but not just that, it helps with your immune system. And if you are feeling sick during the cold season, take a double dose.
Okay. Well, early in the morning, about 4 GMT, people started getting text messages and phone calls with pre-recorded message warning them that if they were anywhere near Hezbollah facility or the Hezbollah storing facility weapons around them, they should evacuate immediately. Now, there was also radio channels that were interrupted, and this message was broadcast on the radio as well for mainly people in the south. So this created a lot of confusion and panic. People were not sure if this was just a warning or if the Israelis were serious. And then Lebanon, over 800 facilities, locations targeted by Israel, claiming that this is where Hezbollah has been storing weapons. The people that were moved from the border towns in between Lebanon and Israel had been relocated to other areas in southern Lebanon, but those areas were also now in the firing line. So there was a lot of confusion, there was a lot of chaos. My colleague Zainab was in the southern city of Tyre, and she could not even get into the city. It was so difficult. There was an exodus of people leaving. There was attacks happening around her. This gives you an idea of how the situation unfolded early in the morning, and it's continuing nonstop. The operation by Israel is also expanded into the eastern part of Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley, and that is also where people have been told to leave. But many people who received these messages said that to us that they didn't know where to go. What are the options? They have nowhere else to go. Where are they supposed to go? And also, how are they supposed to know where Hezbollah has stored its weapons? They don't share this information readily. It's not as if somebody knows what their neighbor has in their own space. So it created a lot of confusion, a lot of anger. And then also there were various ministries and government entities in the capital Beirut who also received this kind of phone call. The information ministry being one of them. And they were told to evacuate the building, but they decided this is just another escalation in Israel's psychological warfare to try and sow panic and fear among the Lebanese population by putting out these kinds of messages. So nobody in Beirut has really left their own residence, and the government buildings have not been evacuated. The statements that have been issued by the officials here is that their work will continue and they will not be coerced and pushed out of their own homes. Now, people were also called to come and pick up their children from school today, as the emergency committee decided to cancel schools today and tomorrow. So people picked up their children. They're also trying to, we've spoken to a number of people who have offered their homes to the displaced people from the south, offering for places for them to stay, because a lot of the hotels are now fully booked in Beirut. So there is a sense that things are certainly in a state of emergency, but there is also defiance. The Lebanese people telling us that they are not going to be abandoning their homes and their land, and they will continue with their life despite the threats they receive from Israel.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Dorsa Jabari there for us in Beirut. Now, I just want to quickly recap some of the figures that we've just received from the Lebanese Health Ministry, because they are worth repeating. They're incredibly shocking. In the space of the last few hours, 274 people have died in Lebanon in these latest strikes by Israel. 21 of the people that have died are children. Children have died. A number of those are women, some of which have not been identified, and a further 1,024 people have been wounded by these strikes. Let's go to Hassan Barari, Professor of International Affairs at Qatar University. So things have moved very fast today. What are your reflections on what is happening now in Lebanon?
Well, it is obvious that the Israelis want to extend the scope of the war, and they scale up all their operation because they want to push Hezbollah north of the Litani River, and they want to get their own people, residents, go back to their homes and towns in the north, in the northern part of Israel. So they think that by mounting this military pressure.
And it's interesting how when we were listening to the health minister there, he was actually comparing to the war in 2006, saying today has been more deadly than the entire war.
Obviously, I mean, I remember the war in 2006, 33. The number of casualties were actually close.
I don't understand why it keeps on hiccuping. Let me just try to reset here.
This is Coda. According to his human Brianna, Coda loves two things, digging and
all sides. Imran Khan is in southern Lebanon, where Israeli airstrikes are taking place. Dorsa Jabari will bring us the mood from the capital Beirut, and from Amman, Stephanie Decker will tell us what Israel has been saying. But first to Imran Khan, who is in southern Lebanon. Imran, as we've heard, the death toll is rapidly rising. Clearly, the situation is escalating incredibly fast. Can you just explain what's happening along that border now, and strikes are still being carried out?
Well, in the last few seconds, we just heard a strike. In the last 5 minutes, we've seen strikes taking place. Let me just show you where I am. That thick cloud of smoke coming up is where I saw 3 strikes come in. Within the last, I'd say, 7 minutes, that's all been taking place, and the last one taking place just a few seconds ago. This all began at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. That was that first wave of strikes. I actually saw some of the strikes come in this area. I counted at least 10. Now, the Israeli army say they hit in that initial wave 150 Hezbollah targets across southern Lebanon. Then, mid-morning, another wave of Israeli attacks. That's another either drone strike or airstrike coming in just over that ridge line over there. Yes, like I was saying, mid-morning, another wave of attacks. The Israeli army say that at least 150 targets were hit in that attack. And then this is the third wave that you're witnessing right now. Now, in total, the Israeli army say 800 targets have been attacked. Now, about an hour ago, there was a barrage of rockets here by Hezbollah, just where those bombings are taking place. I counted at least 10 outgoing rockets going into Israeli territory. Now,
This is Hezbollah say they are fighting back. They say that this is going to be a war of reckoning, and it doesn't look like there is any diplomatic solutions as anytime soon. This is an escalation that we've not seen in decades.
Yeah, a war of reckoning, as you say. It must be absolutely terrifying for residents there. We've seen them.
The way I interpret this whole war of reckoning is kind of this whole, it's hinting towards Yom Kippur. All right. You know, and it's the Day of Atonement and the Day of Judgment. All right. And 50 years ago, last year, was when the Yom Kippur War happened. So I think things are tied together. Now, what is interesting, if you look at the history, the very famous rabbis that were from the United States told the Israelis how to conduct a war during the Yom Kippur War, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. They didn't follow what the rabbis told them to do. All right. It's a whole new video for me to get into the details of it. But these rabbis told the Israelis that you need to do certain things, or it may be a problem later in the future. Israel didn't do it. And now we're 51 years later, and we're living through the effects. Now, one of the items that the rabbis told the Israelis to do was to move the forces all the way into Damascus and then retreat, but they didn't do that. So, you know, and the whole point is to show that there's a force, and that we will move away and allow for peace. But the Israelis didn't want to do that, right? So they didn't follow some of these wise people, right? That you can not do something on the battlefield, or do something on the battlefield that isn't so wise, all right, that leads to problems 50 years down the road. And that is the problem that we have today. They didn't follow what they were supposed to do, and we have this problem 50 years later. You can use this in just international affairs with what the United States has been doing with Taiwan, and this whole, you know, playing footsie with, you know, are we supporting Taiwan, or do we believe in a, you know, China one policy? Because of some sort of expedience with the Korean War at the time, and then the war against, you know, the Cold War and all this. Now we're fast forwarding to a problem with China, Taiwan, and the United States. We didn't do the right thing. And now, you know, this is a 50, 60, 70-year problem now. And more death and destruction is going to happen. Israel needs to go all out on this and not be afraid.
And roads being blocked as people trying to escape these airstrikes. Can you just give us an idea of how many people are actually affected and what they have been saying?
Sorry, there is more incoming as we are speaking. Where I am is the Nabatea Governorate. Okay, so the Nabatea Governorate normally is about 340,000 people. That's been whittled down to about half of that during the last year, since the hostilities broke out between Israel and Hezbollah. But it's now, we've been told, down to about 30%. That's about 10,000 people. Those 10,000 people, though, and I've been speaking to people not just in southern Lebanon, but all the way down to Beirut, who are like, where do we go? Where can we go? Because they're worried that if they leave here, and they may well have to leave here, and they go to, say, the Tyre Governorate, where a lot of internally displaced people, refugees in their own country, effectively, have gone to, that place is under attack as well, and they're worried about what happens to them when they get there. The pictures coming from Nabatea province, that road out, are insane. It looks like just a parking lot, but it is just a traffic jam. Roads are being closed as well. All of this is incredibly concerning and causing panic amongst a few people that are left here in southern Lebanon.
Imran, thanks so much for bringing up to date with the latest there from southern Lebanon. Imran Khan for us. Well, Dorsa Jabari joins us from Beirut now. And Dorsa, what's been the reaction to today's escalation, the intensity of Israel's strikes? The Minister of Health has spoken. How has he described the situation?
Well, according to Faraz Abiad, this is an unprecedented number that they've seen in terms of the wounded and the death. He said that they didn't see this number of casualties in such a short amount of time, even during the 2006 war when Hezbollah was at war with Israel. And he said that their country's medical infrastructure is really pushed to the limit, but they're doing their best. He said many facilities are being turned into medical centers to treat the wounded. Now, we have to remember, it is not just today that the medical personnel in Lebanon have been dealing with casualties and wounded. Over the past week, less than a week, Israel has launched a number of attacks, bringing the total death toll from multiple attacks to 365, and over 5,000 people have been wounded. At first, it was the pagers that went off that belonged to members of Hezbollah that exploded last Tuesday, and then Wednesday, the walkie-talkies as well that belonged to members of Hezbollah. And then in Dahia, in the southern part of Beirut, a airstrike hitting 2 residential buildings, killing at least 52 people and wounding over 60. So the medical profession here has been bombarded with casualties and wounded. And today's events are really causing major concern. The special emergency committee has been called, and they've decided to set up a hotline to deal with people who may have questions about their loved ones or people that have been displaced. You have to remember, in the southern part of Lebanon, there's about 800,000 people that live below that river, the Litani River, between the Litani River and the border with Israel. And since October 8th, when Hezbollah started this cross-border fight with Israel, many of the border towns were evacuated, and 100,000 people were evacuated and moved to other parts in southern Lebanon. And now the entire region in southern Lebanon, as well as the eastern region of Bekaa Valley, are under constant bombardment by Israel. Over 800, they say, Hezbollah targets have been hit since this morning. So there is a lot of people that are caught in the crossfire, and there's many people that are trying to leave their homes in the south and make their way to safer areas. A lot of the schools that have been closed in universities here, according to government officials, have been going to be turned into temporary shelters to deal with the influx of people that will be coming in.
Dorsa, there's also been speculation that this could all be preparing Israel.
You're telling me that the Lebanese government, even though they have problems, for administration, but knowing that there was war happening with Israel and Hamas, and since October 7th, there's been missiles going back and forth between Israel and Hezbollah, that they didn't prepare for a potential strike by the Israelis? Or was it that they just wanted to make it look like that there was more collateral damage because Lebanon didn't prepare for an all-out war? You got to be stupid to think that there wasn't going to be an all-out war between Hezbollah and the Israelis. So why didn't Lebanese prepare? They had months. They almost had a full year to prepare. Something's not right, because what they want to do is they want to demonize what the Israelis are doing while they hunt down the terrorists. Now, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage, but there could have been less collateral damage, and there could have been more facilities prepared over the months as they saw that this was escalating. Don't be surprised. Why didn't they prepare when there was actually the Israeli striking of Hezbollah leaders and Iranian leaders, right? And this counterstrike by Iran onto Israel And then Israel did it. Why didn't Lebanon think, well, maybe this might get a little hot and heavy. Maybe we need to prepare. Are they stupid? Or is it that they don't want to be prepared and they want the collateral damage?
Ground invasion into Lebanon. How are people preparing for the potential of that to happen?
I think people here are already prepared for what they call this war. They say it's a war already that's been waged on them by Israel, whether it be psychological war or actual
Waged on them by
physical
Israel?
war, that they see bombs being dropped
Really?
around them. Many people are running away from their homes. They are looking for temporary accommodations. They are looking for loved ones. There are still people missing from fighters' attacks. This is we're now on Monday. There are people still missing under the rubble in Dahia, which is about 7 kilometers from where I'm standing. So many people here feel they're already at war with Israel. That this is just another phase of it. This is the more extreme phase of this conflict. So, but they are adamant.
They may have intellectually known that this was going to happen, but they didn't prepare. Because if they prepared, why are they having problems with treating? Doesn't seem like that the hospitals were prepared. Doesn't seem like bomb shelters were prepared. Doesn't seem like that some sort of emergency system was developed where to go if a certain region is potentially targeted. You know, these things don't just pop up. It goes on a radar. They know basically the trajectory. They can have certain regions, and they know Beirut is going to be a major issue. They didn't prepare. Intellectually, they knew it was going to happen. Those are two different things. Maybe that they're emotionally prepared, but not physically prepared. Let me go to commercial because I'm tired of stupid people in the Middle East. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the resveratrol. This helps to get rid of senesced cells. Senesced cells are basically cells that stop dividing because they've reached their limit with the telomere lengths. And what happens is that senesced cells will start building up toxins. And you want to get rid of those senesced cells. So take resveratrol to help get rid of the senesced cells. It's an antioxidant. And it's synergistic with C60. It'll help to improve the mitochondrial health. So it's an antioxidant, it's synergistic with other components, right? Other supplements that help to boost up the mitochondrial health and get rid of senesced cells. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take resveratrol. Resveratrol has higher efficacy when you stack it with something, all right? Like NMN or C60 or ubiquinol, NAC. So please go to the store and take the resveratrol that I offer. I take resveratrol every day, and I've been taking resveratrol for decades. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's part of the anti-aging protocol. Omega-3, really important to bring down your LDL, raise your HDL, and keep those red blood cells from sticking so you don't get too many clots, all right? Omega-3 is something that you should be taking every day to improve your cardiovascular health. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Vitamin D3 is a gene expression cofactor, very important so you have proper cellular processes. It also helps to get rid of cells that need to die. So if you have a senesced cell that doesn't want to die, you take resveratrol, and it's synergistic with D3. You take them together, and the cells that are in senescence, you're increasing the probability that they go into apoptosis, and you're getting rid of those cells that are building up the damage, building up the toxins and creating damage. In addition, when a cell is infected, you need D3 to help to get that cell to go into apoptosis. Why? Because a lot of pathogens trick the cell not to die. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take vitamin D3 every day. I take 2 soft gels. These are soft gels. I take 2 soft gels a day. I take one in the morning and one in the evening. All right. Please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin D3. It also helps so you can absorb calcium. Dual purpose and synergistic with resveratrol. Now, I have 2 types of probiotic. I have a powder probiotic and I have it in a veggie cap form. All right. Take a good probiotic every day so you have better gut health. You can absorb your nutrients better. You're reducing inflammation at the gut level, because if you have chronic gut inflammation, your immune system goes down, your metabolism goes down, and you're increasing the chances of colon problems. All right. Diseases and cancers. All right. If it's chronic. And most American diets are pro-inflammatory for the gut. So you want to improve your diet and you want to take a good probiotic. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I have it in a powdered form. You mix it with water or mix it with your food. You've been seeing that I've been eating hummus. I just mix the powder in the hummus every afternoon. Okay? There's a little scooper and you just take a little scoop and mix it with your food. Or you can take the veggie cap. Some people prefer not to take the powder and they just want the veggie cap. So please go to the store and take these very high quality probiotics. And what's going to happen is that your gut is going to improve, the metabolism is going to improve, the inflammation is going to go down, and you're going to have better communication between your gut and your liver. So you have better metabolism, and your gut and your brain. So you have better mental acuity and your mood is improved. Very important. All right. So please go to my store and get these probiotics. Your skin will also improve. A lot of people don't realize skin issues can be related. It's not the only way, but poor gut health can affect your skin health. So please go to my store, follow my advice, do what I'm doing, and take these probiotics every day. All right. Please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
The people that we've been speaking to, they say they're not going to run away and they're going to stay put and deal with whatever is coming.
Okay, thanks so much, Dorsa, for giving us an idea of what it is like there in Beirut. Dorsa Jabari for us. Well, Stephanie Decker is live for us in Amman because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting from within inside Israel. And Steph, can you just bring us up to date with the latest that the Israeli army has been saying?
Yes, the latest figures that they have given is that they've hit 800 Hezbollah targets inside Lebanon, particularly in the south and in the east. We've had various statements from the Israeli army throughout the day, starting with really laying out their plan. This morning, Daniel Hagari, the Israeli army spokesperson, giving a visual presentation showing homes, saying what they alleged were civilian homes with rockets and missiles inside. They were highlighted in red and saying that this was a preemptive strike in response to what the Israelis say would have been an Hezbollah attack, imminent attack on Israel, very much part and parcel of Israel's usual narrative that everything it does is in self-defense. There's also been a lot of projectiles, missiles fired from Lebanon into Israel, northern Israel, and even we've had some of the longest range missiles firing very close to the northern areas of the occupied West Bank. So the army maintaining its narrative, even that's being echoed by the political echelon, the Israeli President Isaac Herzog, also on X going to a visual presentation of rockets and missiles in civilian homes, infrastructure, and this is why they have now escalated the northern front.
Steph, can you just give us an idea of how much preparation there was to set all of this up from the Israeli military point of view, and if they've given us any indication of what could come next?
Well, the rhetoric about the Northern Front has been going on for months. In fact, we were discussing it as we've been covering the Gaza war, and a lot of us were like, it will probably at some point happen. It looks like it's here. It's a very dangerous escalation. Of course, we've been warning about the implications of a regional war, a war with Hezbollah, very, very different to a war with Hamas. We've also heard from Israel today that they're prepared for a ground invasion. I think there's still a big question mark on that because, of course, Hezbollah holds very much the upper hand when it comes to operating from the ground. It's also an Israeli army that is very fatigued after almost 11 months of fighting.
This is why I think that there's going to be a wave of missiles launched and airstrikes, jet strikes by the Israelis onto Lebanon. But I also think that this is going to open up this whole drone war with Hezbollah and Israel. I wouldn't be surprised if the next big change with the war between the two countries is going to be drone warfare. Because Israel wants to learn from the problems that they had in 2006, because that was kind of their Vietnam, right? And so they have to destroy the command and control, and they have to degrade the military capability of Hezbollah before they go in, before they do a ground assault.
Certainly has been that they were going to tackle all the threats to Israel that's coming from the political elite. This is the most right-wing government Israel has ever seen, and this is what they want. And what they want, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu needs to execute to be able to stay in power. And this is why many people will tell you, in fact, there's been a very open Israeli channel investigation showing that Netanyahu pushed back on every potential deal for the ceasefire, that he didn't want it. Why? Because his political survival relies on maintaining a war. The Gaza war, that really many will tell you hasn't achieved any objective, and now seemingly a second front in the north.
Stephanie Dicker, thank you so much, Stephanie Dicker, for us in Amman.
If the events in the world are preventing you from sleeping, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. This has tryptophan and melatonin in it. It's very important to take every day if you're not sleeping. Why? Because if you are chronically sleep deprived, you don't have energy, you've built up toxins, especially in your central nervous system, and you're not consolidating memory. So if you're chronically deprived of sleep, you're actually increasing the chances of early onset of dementia. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. When you have 3 cycles of REM sleep a night in deep sleep, what will happen is that you're going to consolidate memory, detoxify your body, and be well rested. And good sleep every night, year after year, is actually going to slow down the aging process. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. I have partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we have developed some awesome deodorant bars made from essential oils from the Himalayas. You can get it in citrus, or you can get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. These are very high quality deodorants. And not only are you using it as a deodorant every day for males and females, but it also helps to detoxify your body. So it's a dual purpose. So get a couple bars for your household. It's for males and females. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get these very high quality deodorants. It has no aluminum and no baking soda, made from natural ingredients. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the citrus deodorant and the peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. Get a couple bars for your household. Very high quality deodorants.
Well, let's take a closer look at where the Israeli airstrikes have hit in Lebanon. Dozens of towns and cities in southern Lebanon have been the focus, but strikes have also been recorded in the far north, near the border with Syria. Israeli forces are now warning they will target the Bekaa Valley with a new wave of strikes. They've told civilians there to move away from sites linked to Hezbollah. Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Yossi Belan, who is the former Minister of Justice for Israel. He joins us from Tel Aviv. Thank you for being with us once again here on Al Jazeera. First of all, can you explain why now? I mean, the Israeli military has said it has been working on a plan like this for years. The war in Gaza has been going for almost a year now.
That's easy. That's easy. We have a president that has no brain. It's near the end of an election cycle in the United States. So Harris doesn't want to lose potentially pro-Israeli voters, but she doesn't want to say something to you know, that may be may be construed as pro-Israeli and lose her constituency in Dearborn, Michigan, which is a major Muslim population. So the Democratic Party is just going to let Israel do whatever they want during this election cycle. All right, and the Harris campaign is just going to stay quiet, because either way, however she comments, she's going to lose voters, either from the Jewish voter or from the Muslim voter. So so from that point of view, Israel, there's nothing stopping it. They also realize that their military effort in Gaza has been ramping down, and they can now put their efforts to the northern front. Israel knows that this was going to be a multi-front war, and it's just moving into a new phase, right? In addition, these events are being guided by something more beyond human wisdom, all right? And there's something that's happening where it's going to totally reconfigure the Middle East. And I told you what I think is happening. It's going to be a battle of the will, right? Israel, you know, you have to fight for occupying land, right? And whoever wins, wins. If the Muslims win, fine. If the Jews win for this land, this disputed land, fine. But there needs to be a battle. There needs to be a war. There needs to be fighting. All right? You know, the same thing with the United States. If we didn't fight if we didn't, you know, fight during the Revolution and, you know, fought the French and Indian Wars and you know, these things that were happening in the United States, this landmass that we call the United States, the continental United States, wouldn't have happened. It wasn't just given to us. You had to fight for it, right? And you have to maintain it. You have to support. You have to harden your borders. You have to control your currency, and you have to have a manufacturing and a military prowess. That's how you have a country. If you don't have a manufacturing prowess, if you don't have a stable currency, if you don't control your borders, do you really have a country? Probably not. And not every people in the world deserve a country. You got to fight for it. You got to earn it. Let it happen. Let the battle royale happen. And whatever shakes out, fine. But this, you know, let's, you know, give peace a chance. It's just kicking the can down the road and doesn't reach homeostasis. Europe had to go through many, many, many wars, and still is going through wars, to be able to reach some sort of homeostasis. That's why it's happening. I'm glad you asked.
That Lebanese border since October the 7th. But why has Israel escalated things with Hezbollah now?
Well, I think that the question is why not before? I mean, the Hezbollah really out of the blue launched a war on Israel a year ago. There are more than 60,000 refugees who were evacuated, Israelis who were evacuated from the northern border, and they don't live at home and did not return home.
The same could be said, though, for the Lebanese people in the south of the country as well. They've also had to leave their homes.
As a result of it. But in that case, you know, I'm not a supporter of the current Israeli government. And I am not supporter of any war, including the war in Lebanon. But the truth is that it was a decision of Hezbollah to launch a war after the barbaric massacre of Hamas in the southern part of Israel, identifying with Hamas's targets. And we tried, the United States tried, and France tried to convince the Lebanese to stop it. And
they also tried to convince Israel to de-escalate things along that border as well. If we can just turn to what is happening today, 287 people have been killed so far, more than 1,000 injured, many women and children included. Is Israel carrying out a war not just on Hezbollah, but on the Lebanese people as well?
As a result of it, I mean, they are embedded in the civilian society. Of course, I mean, Hezbollah took Lebanon as hostage. I think that the poor Minister of Health and others, what can they do against Hezbollah? It became a poor country. And this is a strong, relatively strong paramilitary organization. And it is a tragedy. Now we have to end it. We have to end it, and we know how to end it.
So
the way to end.
So are you saying? Are you saying that Israel is justified in the way that it's conducted the airstrikes over the last few hours? That if innocent civilians,
So don't put it in a corner in which I have to defend killing of civilians. I'm not there. I'm not there. I will not be there either. I want to save lives on both sides. And when I see civilian victims, believe me, my heart is broken. And I believe that I know the way to put an end to it. And the way to put an end to it is to indirectly or whatever, put the parties around the table and tell them you agreed in 2006 to the UN resolution 1701. Return to it. You did not implement it as you should have implemented.
But a diplomatic solution at this stage has got to be further away than it is. A diplomatic solution at this point of the war has got to be further away than it has ever been since October the 7th, surely.
Regretfully, but it is not impossible. And you have the superpower, the most important superpower of the world, the United States of America, which insists on this solution and is asking the parties to accept it. So I believe that it is not impossible to get to something that has already been agreed in the past. It is not an invention. It is not going to humiliate any side. And this is a rational solution to the problem. Why should we continue this war? It is totally unneeded.
Thank you, Yossi, for your insight. That is Yossi Belenfras, former Minister of Justice for Israel.
Thank you.
Well, the head of the UN interim force in Lebanon has just released a statement saying, Geraldo Lazaro said there's grave concern for the safety of civilians in southern Lebanon amidst the most intense Israeli bombing campaign since last October. He says any further escalation could have far-reaching and devastating consequences, not only for those living on both sides of the blue line, but also for the broader region. UNIFIL reiterates its strong call for a diplomatic solution and urges all parties to prioritise civilian lives and ensure they are not put in harm's way. Hosseini Nader directs the think tank Levant Institute for Strategic Affairs. He joins us from Beirut. Thanks again for joining us, Sami.
Thank you for having me.
After what has occurred over the last 7 or 8 hours, does it feel like Lebanon is under attack and not just Hezbollah at this point?
Yeah, definitely. This is an all-out war, and it's the civilians that today are in the line of fire. The civilians that are in peril. I mean,
how's that any different than what was going on when Hitler was shooting V rockets at London, or what was going on with the bombing of Dresden, or what was going on with the bombing of Stuttgart, what was going on in the bombing of Berlin. What about the bombings that we were doing during Desert Storm? There's always collateral damage, always. Maybe the terrorists should have thought better and said, maybe there needs to be some sort of negotiated peace. And that, realize that, fighting, biblical texts, maybe not in their best interest. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD+. I take this every day. Why? Because it helps to boost up my energy levels, right? And it helps to heal and help with the repair mechanism for DNA damage, all right? So when we get older, we'll develop DNA damage for multiple reasons, all right? And we have a repair mechanism to do it. But sometimes there's too much damage and the repairs don't take place, or they're not as efficient. By taking NAD+, those repair mechanisms will be more efficient. So take NAD+ to boost up your energy and to help with DNA repair. Very important. In addition, it also helps with neural protection, right? It helps with your neurons. So that's important because as you grow older, you start having problems with your neurons. Neural health is a problem when you get older. So take NAD+ to get more energy, to help to repair DNA damage, and to help to support your neural health. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get NAD+. Nattokinase, really important. Why? Because it breaks up clots. And at higher doses for nattokinase, you can bring down your LDL and your HDL levels. You should be taking this every day for cardiovascular health. So please, go to my store and take the nattokinase every day, add it to your daily protocol.
The new turning point that we are reaching up to now, all the military engagement was kind of restricted to military targets and the military organization of Hezbollah. But today, what we are witnessing is a mass migration of civilians, a huge death toll among the civilians. More than 180 persons were killed. And this bodes very ill for the days to come. We still have in the memory similar scenes like the one that happened in 2006, and how the civilians paid the heavy price of the clashes between Hezbollah and Israel. All the more that chances of a political solution for a political compromise are very thin. The position of both parties are apart. On one hand, Hezbollah is still determined to link the war we decided to wage on October 8 to a ceasefire in Gaza, and there is no indication that we are close to a ceasefire of that sort.
Not at all.
And Israel is determined to change what they call the military equation on the north in order to facilitate the return of the citizens of the north.
Yes.
And added a first objective to the war. And it's now clear that the number one arena of this war is Lebanon and is not Gaza anymore.
It certainly feels like the focus has definitely shifted. I mean, where does the events of today, where do the airstrikes, where does it leave the Lebanese government and the authorities there? What can or should they be doing right now?
Actually, what they have, the position they have taken is the right one, but they have no leverage on the ground, and they have no leverage on Hezbollah so far. I mean, the Lebanese government stated it clearly that they are ready to implement 1701 UN resolution. And this is the only way out of this crisis. And this decision could not be taken without the consent of Hezbollah. But up to now, Hezbollah did not say loud and clear that he's ready to implement this resolution. And he cannot say it as long as he's linking this war with the Gaza war. And because this is where lies the contradiction.
Okay.
So unless Hezbollah is ready to de-link his operation to the war taking place in Gaza, the chances of seeing this UN resolution implemented are thin.
Yeah. Lebanon is also facing major economic issues, millions of refugees. What impact, the longer that this goes on along the southern border and potentially further into Lebanon, what impact is that going to have on the country? Will it be able to cope?
This is really the most important question. And this is where the issue, where the stakes are. Situation today is totally different from the one prevailing in 2006. The Lebanese pound has lost 98% of its value. More than 80% of the Lebanese are living under poverty, the line of poverty. Unemployment is above 40%, and this the economic situation is in a very dire situation, in fact. And so what Lebanon has no more the capability to withstand a war similar to that of 2006, where he can get the money to rebuild its infrastructure. Plus, today, Lebanon is still reeling from the consequences of the Beirut platform, of a financial crisis, and of a COVID crisis. 3 consecutive crises that wreaked havoc on the Lebanese economy.
Repercussions, we will have to wait and see exactly how this affects almost every facet of life in Lebanon. Thanks so much, Sami Nader, the director of the think tank Levant Institute for Strategic Affairs.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video, and get the vitamin K2. This is a dual-purpose product. This is going to help with your bone health and your cardiovascular health. Take it every day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I also have a new product on my store. It's NAC. NAC helps to bring up your glutathione levels. It's a very strong antioxidant. And it also helps to detoxify your liver and your kidney. All right. In addition, it'll also help to mitigate some issues with mental health, like ADHD, anxiety. It'll help to calm down. So please go to my store to improve your mental health and to boost up your glutathione levels, because glutathione is a very strong antioxidant, right? And you want to detoxify your liver and your kidney. Take NAC. It's synergistic with C60, because C60 is soaking up free radicals in one way, and NAC boosts up your glutathione levels and soaking up free radicals in a different way. So they're synergistic, and that means that you age slower and improve your health. And by having less cellular damage, that also helps to improve your immune system. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take NAC every day. All right. Ubiquinol, the active form for CoQ10. You should be taking this every day. I've been taking Ubiquinol for a long time. And what this will do is to help to boost up your energy levels. It's a strong antioxidant, and it also helps to improve neural health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take Ubiquinol. It's the active form for CoQ10. All right. Take it every day. Why? Because It's a strong antioxidant, and it's synergistic with C60 and the NAC, right? So you're attacking it, and you're attacking the free radicals in different ways to soak up those free radicals. All right, it's boosting up your energy levels, and especially when you get older, you need to protect your neurons and improve your neural health, to slow down age-related neurodegeneration. So take ubiquinol every day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
To Gaza now, where Israeli strikes have killed at least 10 Palestinians in the center of the Strip. An attack on a home in Al-Bala killed a mother and her 4 children. Another 5 people were killed when a school used as a shelter in Al-Nusra refugee camp was bombed. Israeli forces have killed more than 41,400 Palestinians.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to what was published by Times Radio. It's not cycling. Maybe I can do Times Radio. All right, I'll just go to Al Jazeera again. Very strange. Everything's locked up. What's going on? I updated the new operating system with Apple. Try to reset it. It's not working. I don't know. I might have to reboot. All right.
Still to be confirmed, champ.
Okay, it's working.
South America take on Chuca of Mexico. That match and the remainder of the tournament will be played in Qatar in December. All the winners of those 2 games will progress into a playoff on December the 14th. Whoever makes it through will face European champions Real Madrid, the first.
All right, this is Fox. This is Fox News.
Popeye's wings are the official wing of watching football. Win the wing game every week with 7 signature flavors, including new sweet.
All right, a Fox News alert. IDF forces have hit about 300 Hezbollah targets in Lebanon today, as Hezbollah is vowing a war of reckoning. The IDF confirming it has taken down 6 senior Hezbollah commanders, including at least 1 on the State Department's most wanted list. But the United States still warning caution.
Nobody, including Secretary Austin, is shedding a tear over the death of Mr. Akil, who does have American blood on his hands. I think the world's better for not having him walking around on the planet anymore. But that doesn't mean we want to see a full-out war. We don't believe, again, that that's in the best interest of the Israeli people.
All right, here for its reaction is retired Navy SEAL and author Jack Carr. Jack, what did you say?
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, we knew this was coming eventually. I mean, Hezbollah kept shooting rockets into Israel. They're not going to just sit there and say, "Oh, stop it." They're going to do something.
Yeah, nope, you know what's strange is that he's got the look of the American Psycho, but with a beard. He's got this mannerism that's like American Psycho mannerism about him.
for long enough, but really the seeds of what happened today, was happening over the last year, were planted back in the early 80s with the group we now know as Hezbollah, hitting us first at our embassy in April of 1983, and then at the Marine Beirut barracks and headquarters bombing that happened on October 23rd, 1983. And interestingly enough, just this last Friday, we finally got one of the people who was involved in both of those attacks and an embassy annex bombing.
I want to just diverge here for a second. I remember when the Beirut bombing took place. All right, and I remember hearing it on the TV. All right, this is back in '83, right? And the I had a computer at the time, and it was the Commodore 64, right? And I think I was just learning programming, or maybe I was playing a game on the Commodore. But I remember being on the Commodore 64, and then there was a TV in the room that was playing the news about this bombing, the Beirut bombing. So I remember this event very well. You know, and the thing is that we just put our tail between our legs and just, you know, and didn't do really not much about it. And this kind of sets in motion that emboldens the terrorists. You got it. These people, you have to kill. You have to kill. That's the way of the jungle over there. Terrorists, I mean, they do not understand anything but force.
Been 40 years ago to the date this last Friday. So he's been taken off the board 40 years.
Yeah.
later.
Well, the United States
About
never
time.
forgets when it comes to the bad guys. Here's the
Unless
thing
you're
that's going on now,
unless you're a
Hezbollah-
Democrat, then you'll forget. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite. Zeolite, you take a few drops, put it on your tongue, you drink it with filtered water. It will help to detoxify heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. All right. We are bombarded by chemtrails, by chemicals in our food and water, in the air we breathe, and even in the clothing we wear. A lot of people don't realize that forever chemicals are sometimes on coats and certain types of clothing. So we have exposure to forever chemicals, PFAS and PFAS and a whole bunch of other stuff. And there's ways to chelate those chemicals out of your body, to detoxify your body. So go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite to bind those chemicals. Take a few drops underneath your tongue, drink water with it, all right, and use up the bottle. Some people prefer to detox throughout the whole year. This is the type of zeolite that you can take year round. How it works is it has a negative charged molecule. Zeolite is a negatively charged molecule, and it'll attach to positively charged chemicals, toxins, and heavy metals, bind, and then allow you to urinate that out in about 6 to 8 hours. So some people just use the whole bottle and do it once or twice a year. Some people take it year round. It's up to you. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take the zeolite.
Last week, the beepers and the walkie-talkies started blowing up. We knew there would be a reaction. However, Israel has completely overwhelmed them. They haven't really been able to get off a good shot.
You know, it's incredible what they pulled off, especially with first the pagers and then with the walkie-talkies the next day. It's a modern day Trojan horse. This will be studied for decades, if not centuries. And obviously they use pagers because there are less listening devices on those than say on our cell phones right there. Cameras, photos, text messages, emails, those don't exist on the pagers. But what Israel did to get inside that supply chain, or perhaps to create the company years and years ago, that then feeds these pagers into the system, and to so precisely target Hezbollah leadership through these pagers, that is unprecedented and will be studied for decades.
No kidding. It was absolutely brilliant that it worked, and they pulled it off before those guys were able to figure it out in Lebanon.
See what I mean?
Let me ask you this: for the people sitting here in the United States, worried about a larger war, is that one of your concerns?
Oh, it certainly is a concern. And right now, that's really the ball's in Iran's court. Not necessarily Hezbollah, not necessarily Hamas, but Iran. And what they learned from the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing is that terrorism works. And unfortunately, we didn't retaliate in the wake of that event. We left in early 1984. So that taught Iran a lesson, and that terrorism works through these proxies. So they set the rules. And right now, Israel is shifting those rules a bit. So maximum pressure on Iran while supporting the Iranian populace. So we'll see.
Well, the United Nations General Assembly convenes this week. And it turns out there's a Reuters story out this morning that it sounds like Iran is now willing to talk about nuclear stuff. But isn't that just so coincidental? All this stuff is going on where they are helping Hezbollah fire off at Israel. Now they're going, oh, you know what? We want peace.
Oh, certainly. And there's this maximum pressure also includes other countries in the region as well. Israeli Special Operations Forces about 2 weeks ago did a very audacious mission into Syria, hitting a precision-guided weapons facility, also a Russian listening post. There's a Russian component to a relationship with Syria. They put Israeli Special Operations Forces on the ground, went inside this facility, blew it up from the inside because they couldn't hit it from the air, and used drones as a blocking force for the first time. So Israel's on the move.
You've been thinking about this for a long time. He's written a great book. It's called Targeted Beirut. Jack Carr, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thanks so much.
All right. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade. And he just has facial mannerisms of the American Psycho. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. This is a very strong antioxidant, and it is synergistic with ubiquinol and resveratrol and NAC and these other antioxidants that you can purchase from my store. But this is a very potent. All right, basically what it is that there's a molecule of 60 carbons that looks like a soccer ball, and it's called a buckyball, and it's suspended in oil. Now there's 3 different oils that it can be suspended in. So it's in avocado oil, coconut oil, or in extra virgin olive oil. Okay, so C60 is lipid soluble, so it's in an oil. You take a teaspoon of it a day. You take it every day, and what will happen is it'll start to slow down the aging process of your cells and of your tissue and of your organs. And over time, what you'll notice is that you're aging slower. In addition, it's going to boost up your energy because it's improving the health of your mitochondria. All right. When you are reducing those free radicals in your body, you're improving your cells and your tissue, and you're also reducing the oxidation of LDL. All right. And when you're taking this, by reducing the oxidation of LDL, you're reducing the chances of creating foam cells, which reduces the chances of developing arteriosclerosis, building up a plaque on in your arteries. So this is a dual purpose product. You can help with your cardiovascular system by taking C60, by reducing the oxidative process of LDL. In addition, by reducing reactive oxygen species and reducing that whole cascade, that inflammatory cascade, you're also helping with your immune system. So the whole idea here is soak up free radicals, and soak up free radicals through different ways at the same time. So C60 soaks up those free radicals using a C60 molecule. Resveratrol is an antioxidant. It'll soak up free radicals in a different way. Ubiquinol soaks up free radicals in a different way. NAC soaks up free radicals boosting up your glutathione levels. So when you're soaking up those free radicals in all these different ways, what happens is that you are reducing that stress on the cell, and you are allowing for your body to heal, and you're slowing down the aging process. When we get older, we oxidize more. All right, we have more free radicals, and it's more important to soak them up. And there's a compound effect. The longer you do this on a continual basis, the more you will see on how your body is healing and your health is improving, and you're slowing down the aging process. You will look younger, all right? Especially when you compare it to your peer group that's not doing this protocol. So please go to my store and get the C60. I take this every day, take a teaspoon every day. Take it on an empty stomach for better absorption, and take it before you work out. you do a heavy workout, because your recovery time will improve. All right, you'll reduce your recovery time. Why? Because when you're working out, you're creating free radicals. All right, and it's soaking them up as you're working out. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60 either in the avocado, in the extra virgin olive oil, or in the MCT coconut oil. I have it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. The higher the ounce configuration that you purchase, it's cheaper per ounce. So it behooves you to buy at a higher ounce, but take a teaspoon a day. This is a great product. This is a major pillar to my anti-aging protocol. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. That's the end of the broadcast and PNN. Hopefully you have learned a little bit about how to improve your body and how to improve your cardiovascular health, how to slow down the aging process, all these different things that I offer on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, how to mix and match. I know, people's house finances are limited, and you have to, kind of be targeted. But if you follow what I'm saying, right, you can improve your health greatly. All right. It's about proper diet, proper exercise, proper stretching, proper sleep, proper challenging your mind, proper supplementation. You want to do a little bit of resistance training. You want to do a little bit of cardiovascular training, right? Cardio fitness. And when you do this on a regular basis, you're actually going to slow down the aging process, and you're going to have more vitality. All right. Take my advice or don't take my advice. It's up to you. But I have given you everything you need to do to be able to mimic what I'm doing to slow down the aging process and to boost up my immune system. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Please share the links. Please ask your social media to follow me so I can reach a larger audience, so I can teach people how to improve their health naturally through supplementation and through proper diet and exercise. And, hopefully in a small way, people's health can improve. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the supplements and ask your social media to follow me. I appreciate it. Please share the links. Thank you for your help. I greatly appreciate all the support that I have been given over the years, especially covering the crisis in 2020. And, we're going through additional crises. Like, for example, what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Europe, what's going on in Asia, right, are going to be problematic for us, especially in the United States. And I also tell you how to navigate through the tumultuous markets. I've given you resistance points and support levels for the S&P 500 so you can invest for retirement. All right. It's trading at 5,718. The S&P 500. If you were listening to Alex Jones, like a few weeks ago, you would think that the S&P 500 would be at like 2 or maybe 200. All right. Because he thought the sky was falling. And I told you the sky is not falling. And that we're probably going to close out the year at 5,800 or maybe even 6,000. And guess what? 5,718 is not too far away to 5,800. And it's not too far away from 6,000. Take my advice or don't take my advice. But I'm usually really accurate. So please go to my store. Please follow me. I'll navigate you through these problems. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.